Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this powerful full moon we have June 3rd and 4th, 2023. It's a time of breakthrough. It's a time of emerging as the powerful being that you're destined to become. It's a time of rapid transformation and change and just acceleration, once again, into your God-given potential. The world needs it. The world needs people like you, the folks doing the work, to step into their power. And this full moon is going to help you do just that. So as I always do, I'll go ahead now and break it down into 5 more specific themes that you may be experiencing. And the intention of this video is to help you navigate it, help you navigate these energies with awareness so you can get the most out of it. There's a tremendous amount of potential with this full moon in particular. Number 1. Feeling the fear, but doing it anyway. There's a strange thing that can happen to people when they finally break out of the mold in which they've been going through life in, the limiting beliefs, the wounded inner child, the fear, the conditioning that has up until this point kept you feeling normal, kept you in your feeling of this is what's familiar. But because you're going through a spiritual awakening and because it's your time, there's been parallel to that another feeling that's kind of come online. You can call it your spirit, your intuition, this feeling, this sensing of who you truly are and where you truly belong in life is growing. It's emerging, it's coming to life. It's like demanding more from you. And now we're kind of torn because on one hand, this feeling inside of ourselves that's saying you're meant for more, you're destined for more, you're meant to lead, you're meant to help, you're meant to be of service, you've done enough healing, it's time to shine. There's a part of us screaming that. And ironically, when it comes time to actually do that, the ego, the fearful, wounded inner critic also gets louder. So now you have both voices screaming at you, and it's like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. I can't believe what the hell is happening. This is good. This is the energy of breakthrough. This is like the culmination of a lot of your years of transformation, self-development work. Not everyone does this. Not everyone puts as much time and sacrifice and energy into becoming the best version of themselves, whether it's by reading books, whether it's by meditating or doing the different healing work you've done, whether you're not doing anything formal and just have found yourself going through this powerful transformation year after year after year after year. You look around, not everyone's doing this, but you are. And at this pivotal point, it's so, again, confusing because the ego roars loudest as it consents. It's on its last limb. And right now is the opportunity, as torn as you may feel, to step through the fear. Number 2, awareness as to why you've been holding yourself back. In this breakthrough type of energy, there's also an expanded state of consciousness where you can finally start to draw some pretty fascinating insight as to like why you've held yourself back all these years, why you've unconsciously sabotaged yourself, pushed away the goodness, the sweetness of life, the love, the abundance, the opportunity, why you've chosen not to shine like the star and diamond that you are. You might start to see why. And a lot of times the answers, the why, can set you free because the whys don't make a lot of sense. The whys are always the origin is usually like a trauma response or the conclusions that are like younger self drew that is less wise, less aware, and yet we've been letting that past, outdated version of ourselves kind of run our life based on fear. And you might start to become hip to that and see the writing on the wall. And I'll give an example. I remember Some of you have actually done breath work with me online. I'm curious if you have or not. And if you have, you've also met my wife, Patty. She's also been here on the channel. But some of you may or may not know, my wife, Patty, can sing extremely well. She's very, very gifted, very, very talented. I'm not just saying that, she really is. And the interesting thing is, the first time I heard her sing, would you believe, was like maybe 10 years after meeting her. And I came home from work one day and I caught her in the act. I caught her singing. And when I heard her singing, I was like mad. I was like, babe, why have I not heard you sing up until this point? It's insane. You're so good. Where's this been? I was like offended. Like, why are you not singing? And it's just for a long time been this thing she kind of keeps to herself. She does in her quiet, private time. And eventually it came out why that is. By the way, her whole family can sing, my wife. And she's got this sister who can sing really well, but she's like an opera singer. And anyway, there was this one time when they both had just got done doing like a high school show. And my wife had her own performance, and then her sister had her performance. They were both fantastic, and they both were kind of coming down from the stage to meet their friends and family. And all the friends and family gave Patty the attention. Great job, Patty. You sang so beautifully, Patty. You lit up the crowd, Patty. Oh my God, Patty, you're so talented. And Patty saw the look on her sister's face. She like caught a glance, and her sister had this look of like, why not me? Why aren't they noticing me? And anyway, in high school, Patty's 16 years old, she concluded, shining hurts the feelings of people I love. She conflated being fully creatively expressive, being her bold, authentic, magical self is harmful to those she loves. And it's like, God, is that, you say it out loud and it's like, that's not true. That doesn't really make very much sense logically. That seems like you didn't really examine that. That's not an empirical truth, Patty, obviously. And once she finally became aware of that, she sings all the time now. She sings constantly throughout the house. She's got a guitar now, and she's practicing guitar, and she sings probably at the very least, an hour to 2 hours per day, and has been for a long time, and loving it. And now she's really good. She's really coming into her own. She's finally allowing herself to shine, allowing herself to practice. And since then, she's done breath work with me for probably, no joke, probably to like maybe 10,000 people. 10,000 people have been affected and impacted by Patty's medicine that she was keeping in the freaking closet for a decade because of some self-limiting belief that has no basis in truth. Number 3, awakened relationships. I'm going to share a couple of things that only people who are going through a spiritual awakening are going to understand, because you're going through it and you might feel like you're the only one you know going through it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and nonetheless it's happening. And what I'm saying is, once you start on this path and you start to grow, like not just spiritually, but like emotionally, you start to kind of mature rapidly, and it doesn't stop. It just continues and kind of expands, and you start growing more and more and more, faster and faster and faster in a short span of time. And it has very real effects on your relationships. There starts to become an undeniable separation that takes place. The separation can happen on multiple levels. You may find that people that were once key players in your life, as Dolores Cannon would say, the key players, are all of a sudden, for one reason or another, not there anymore. They're falling away. Whether they've moved, whether you had some type of falling out, or whether you just find it feeling forced and unnatural to give them a call. And your mind says, yeah, I should call this person. You're staring at your phone. It's been so long. I need to call this person. But you just find yourself not doing it. And then you're like, you wonder why. Bashar, a channeler, he talks about this. He talks about it like, he calls it, what does he call it? It's like looking through reality looking at your world, your reality through like a glass window, basically, where right now, and for the longest time, planet Earth was like a big melting pot of like soul ages, different like frequencies. And now what's happening is this acceleration energy is coming into the planet, and it's becoming more and more difficult to kind of coexist and really spend ample time around other vibrations, not just people that are not compatible, because you're growing and raising yours so much. It's like you can see them, you know these people are there, and if you really forced it, you could. But you find that you're not. And this can pose a lot of unique challenges. On the very obvious hand, you might feel just lonely. Like, man, I know things aren't the same with so-and-so. And you just know that. You know they're not the same, and they may or may not be the same ever again. But at the same time, there's still this void. You're still a human being, a social creature, and you long for connection. And that's just the thing. Your expectations have raised. You long for a real connection. You long for people to be in your life that you can let your guard down completely and be your real self and be encouraged and loved and supported. You long for relationships that reciprocate how you show up in a relationship. And that's also a big reason why things start to change. But nonetheless, the experience of it is all of a sudden people are falling out of your life and you don't know why, even though you kind of do know why. Your mind thinks it doesn't know why. On an intuitive soul level, you know why. But nonetheless, you're lonely. You're aching for human connection that just is nowhere to be found. And it's like, why? Why is this even happening? Why even go through a spiritual awakening? Why even bother with this if it's going to be so? It's going to make me so sad and unhappy. And what I've learned is that there's a lot of, like any challenge during your spiritual awakening that can initially, once it's presented, seem like unfair. Like, why is this happening? This isn't really worth it. I don't see how this could possibly benefit me ever. It always does. Even more than you could possibly imagine. And so too with this. Number one, if you're feeling lonely, you can take this for what it's worth, but I've been doing this for about 6 years on YouTube, and I've interacted with thousands of people. And I can tell you from just meeting people through retreats and coaching and my online programs, and also here in the comments, it seems to be quite common that people that spring into a spiritual awakening, at some point, the seeker will find themselves very lonely, all by themselves. Maybe you're not working right now. Maybe just life will position you in a place where you have a lot of time to yourself. And this is uncomfortable. Most of us don't really, when it comes down to it, like being with ourselves because we're backed up with unresolved issues. We're anxious. We're uncomfortable. But that's the whole point. A lot of us, if we didn't manifest this period, this season of our life where we're very alone, and I know it sucks, I've been there, man, no friends, it's lonely, but it gives you time to look within. It gives you time to know yourself. Like, who are you really? Underneath the former busyness, this character. A lot of us have been playing a character molded by not our true, authentic, divine self. However, instead, society, mom, dad, experiences of pain that have impacted us. And there we have become this fairly solid character that all of a sudden this true self is emerging, and it's wanting real companionship. It's wanting real friends. It's wanting an authentic life, but it's nowhere to be found because we've been living a lie in a sense. So this alone time is the perfect time to figure yourself out, to ask the big questions. Who are you? What do you want? What kind of friend do you want? What kind of lover do you want? What kind of people do you want in your life? How do you want to spend your time? What's your purpose? What's this next step of your life look like? It's a great time to think about all that. And then once you do, you start to figure out who you are at the deeper and deeper and deeper levels. And then through this gestation period, that deeper part of yourself starts to kind of come up, and take precedence in your body, in your mind, in your personality, in your life. And then from there, you're finally an authentic being, able to attract the types of people that will fulfill you, the types of people that will love you to the extent that you love them, the type of people that will love you for who you are, the type of people that will see your quirks and your shadow and love you anyway. It's a phenomenal time as well to go back to school. And especially if you're alone, you got nothing to do. It's a good time to polish up on your skills. You might find that there have been certain things that may have kind of fallen into your field, your awareness that you're attracted to. Now's a fantastic time to go for it. You know, as I mentioned, I think recently in the video, I just joined this teaching with presence Eckhart Tolle, like 6-month program. I just happened to see it on like a Facebook advertisement, and I've always loved Eckhart Tolle, and I've been doing a lot more coaching lately through my other business, Full-Time Purpose, and it just kind of called to me. It resonated with me, and I was like, I don't want to really spend the money. My mind was like, you're busy, you don't need this, but there's that part of me that felt inspired to do that, and man, I'm so happy I did. It's been benefiting me greatly. It's a good time to go deeper. A lot of times when we are like close to making a big breakthrough, even in our life or our business or our career or our purpose, it's like for that we can sometimes like feel it coming. We can like sense it coming on the horizon. But a lot of times what needs to happen, what will happen around that same time, is we need to up-level ourselves. It's a great time to up-level yourself. And for some of you, it might be like joining something like I said, or studying something new. You find that you go down a rabbit hole of a whole new, like my friend Aaron Dowdy. He's become obsessed with Ho'oponopono, and he's researching the guy who like invented it. And every time you hang out with Aaron, he'll tell you all about Ho'oponopono, all these different facets of it that he's been studying. And now it's becoming a part of his teaching, and if you watch his YouTube videos, I would suspect you'll be hearing him talk about it very soon. So that's Aaron following his excitement. He's following his passion. This is exciting and interesting to him, and he's going all in with it. And I can see from like looking from an outsider, it's bringing out a deeper, more powerful version of Aaron in doing so. This could also be a great time to maybe change your habits. You know, there's always a timing involved with like making big changes in your life. And sometimes you've like known, okay, I know I should quit smoking weed, but you don't, and you feel a little bad about it, and months go by. But eventually there is a time where it's ripe to do that, and now is a good time to do that, just to up-level yourself, and whatever that means for you. You know, you're already getting insight as to how you're holding yourself back, as I mentioned previously, and it's a good time to really take action. And it's not easy to break a habit or form a new habit. It does take willpower. It does take persistence. It does take strength, because there are weak moments we have. But it's like that's how you bring out that deeper level of yourself. You know, I've battled many addictions, and I'm telling you, it's not easy. You know, heroin, smoking cigarettes, crack cocaine, things that had a real strong grip on me. And what I've learned is that these habits, without going too far onto a habit tangent, these habits the cravings would come in waves. And they would oftentimes, when they were really strong, it was at a weak time. Like, for example, what would happen to me every time I gave up using heroin, and it's kind of a weird phenomenon, but for like a month or like 2 or 3 weeks, I would feel like that would be on like that pink cloud, where I would feel like so good and so free. Once I got over the dope sickness, I would finally feel like healthy again and excited, and like, yeah, I had all these plans. Okay, I'll go back to college, and I'm like motivated, and things are going well. Then all of a sudden that pink cloud would go away. And all of a sudden, all the stuff I was suppressing was just back. And I felt all of a sudden, I went from feeling like I was on cloud nine to feeling like just depressed, like a loser, scumbag, like regretful. And then I'd have a really crappy day. I'd lose my job or something. And it would be like, those weak moments, man, where it's like so tempting to alleviate that with that warm feeling of drugs for me. And my mind could say, you know what, you're not going anywhere, bro. What do you have to lose? My mind would kick on with all these rationalizations trying to encourage me to go back. But in those moments, there's a part of you, if you can find it, that you can like latch on to a part of you that's like, no matter what happens, I will not give in. No matter what happens, I will not shy away. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I will not give up. And all of a sudden, that storm, that craving, that inner feeling of wanting to revert back to what's normal and familiar, it's gone. And you are stronger, more committed, you reinforced a lot this new version of you. So when those storms come again, and they will, you'll be better equipped to handle them. So anyway, I don't know what that all was. Hopefully that serves you and wasn't some kind of random tangent completely. But the point is, my friend, it's that time to level up. But leveling up requires sometimes sacrifice, or it requires investment. It requires being uncomfortable. But if you can do it, that's how we get to step into this new version of ourselves that we can imagine being right there and ripe for us. It's right there for the taking, but we have to earn it by becoming it. As my friend Aaron said, you have to become the vibration of what you want to manifest. And we do that by these like growth spurts that we can choose to go through by not giving into the old. And number 5, my friends, is more of a tip. This is more of like a suggestion, an invitation, something I did not do very well for the longest time on my own awakening journey. And I believe it'll help you tremendously, not only have a smoother, but also faster ascent into your greatness. And that's to trust the energy. Trust the energy of the situation. What I mean by that is a lot of times things that are happening on the surface of your life, for example, like losing your job, people falling away, kind of as I was talking about. A lot of times things are not as they seem. And you know this. A lot of times, like during your awakening, you'll know this. You'll have like a strong sense of, I know on paper this sort of is not good for me right now. But I have a sense that it's somehow going to benefit me. And maybe it's even connected to what I've been wanting all along. Like a lot of times, the way manifestation has worked for me anyway, is there's this inspired like feeling like, I want this. And if it resonates, it feels real, and you kind of have an optimistic viewpoint, like this feels authentic, it's going to happen somehow. And you're like, wow, it's in the field, it's on the way. And then all of a sudden, there's a loss. There's like, okay, like sometimes like if you want a better career, for example, soon after you decide that, you lose your job. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know, I wasn't quite, meaning now. And this, if you let your patterned way of interpreting things run away with itself, you can drive yourself bananas trying to like make sense of all what's happening in your life. But it's like what my invitation is, don't ignore the part of you that already knows what this all means. I've had this happen so many times. Trust your intuition. Trust your sensing of the energy. Now, this can also be, you can also look at like present situations in your life that seem like they're going well on paper. Like, okay, this makes sense. This should be fine. But you're like your spidey sense is going off, saying something is off. I can feel it. The energy is off. There's an imbalance there, and it's, even though it hasn't yet, I can almost guarantee it's going to somehow create some kind of problem. But then you're like, well, it can be sometimes awkward to act in those situations because you have no basis to go on. Especially if there's other people involved. You can't come to them and say, well, I sense the energy's off, so you need to stop doing that. And yet, that might be what's best. Trust the energy. How many times have you felt that, what I just said, and then just as you intuitively assumed, it went that way, even though there was no evidence, physical evidence in the moment? Trust your feelings of something. Trust your feelings with people. Remember, a long time ago, I saw this psychic named Kevin, who was an amazing tarot reader. Best I've ever been to in my entire life. Wish I could see him these days. He's in Michigan. And anyway, one time he said, Victor, he said, you have good intuition, he said, but you don't trust it. He said, if you think someone's a butthead, were Kevin's words, not mine, they're a butthead. Just know that. You're accurate. You're like initial impression, even though it doesn't come with evidence necessarily, it's always accurate. Go with it. Trust it. So remember that. If things are falling away, changing in your life, what do you intuitively feel? How does your intuition interpret it? And again, a word to the wise, if you can intuitively feel something's off, make the change if you can sooner than later, because you know how it's going to go. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Have an amazing day. Much love.